Welcome to this RoadCraft 42 hour in update review of what you're going to get yourself into and some tips as well. You'll note that one of the things I missed last time was a scout vehicle and the fact that it does have its own winch and how easy it is to use. I kind of focused a lot on this mule, so I started the video with a little clip of using it. Again, I use it very heavily at the beginning of a match as anticipated, but once I get further in, the Mule T1 with the cargo with the 6-ton cargo crane tends to take over. This is going to be long form, so there is quite a few edits in it. I will call out if anything is made to look easy. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to make it less than infinitely length long. I think this video is close to 2 hours, so use the chapters to jump around to stuff you're looking for, or if you're interested in a long haul, welcome aboard. So the Mule T1, if you missed my first video, is actually really useful for this type of work where it has the crane built in as well as a cargo capacity, so you don't have to bring two vehicles to do the same kind of work. In this case, there's a broken pipe marked by the map overlay that shows you the pipes and the pipe damage and such from your work. And in general, you get those pretty early. As soon as you scout out an area and it's declared like you found it, you start getting those if you bother to go into the route layers and also into the map layers specifically. You can see it through there as well. But you'll note that I hit the 7 key and I get those anchors out, and I am pulling the old broken pipe out of the way with a little bit of effort. And a lot of times with the smaller cargo crane, you really bat for the fences with this thing. So sometimes you got to get creative. Notice I use the entire body weight of the Mule T1. If this was a little more realistic and there was more damage, which I know some folks asked for, I would not be able to get away with that. That would have seriously damaged the springs. It would have damaged the hydraulics probably of something or other. The physics in this game, though, are pretty strict, in the sense of these pipes are just brutal in the sense of every single place is almost like a bowl. A lot of the damaged areas just act as like a bowl, which is, I would argue, harder. It's more than realistic, because there's jagged edges and such, but like a lot of things just where it wants you to go tend to bowl in place, where the lowest point of gravity is right where you're driving. So it's very frustrating to work around the rocks and the pipes in general. And if you notice, there's 2 attach points. So if you hit 5, you can toggle your attach mode between a single point and all points on something. Sometimes you have to toggle that off because you only can see, like, say 2 or 3 of the points. On some larger things, you can have 4 points, and if you can't see all 4, then you can't grab it. But anyway, back to realistic. So the way the gravity works in a lot of places is it has this bowl effect where it's like part of like a puzzle. Basically, you can feel the hand of the developer kind of creating these contrived situations that you have to solve, more than just, it's a disaster, the road broke open, you got to go fix something now. Like, that's what I wish there was more of a balance between those two things. You'll note on this adventure, I'm planning out how to handle a dual lane road. So the request is to build a 2-lane road, and the obvious inference here is it's both directions. But in this game, a lot of times it's not about being bi-directional on the roads. It's more about having 2 routes running in the same direction at the same time. Luckily, it gave me this new tool. I thought this thing was going to be so useful. After you raise the back, there is no way to strap vehicles down. Even though that giant ramp on the back is designed to hold vehicles, for whatever reason, this beautiful, beautiful piece of equipment, this heavy transit vehicle that is designed to go off-road, refused to strap down the cargo. Anyone who's ever worked with a vehicle or trailers will tell you, you pull out ratchet straps, you pull out the very least tie downs on lighter stuff than what's on the back of this truck now, and you strap down the load. But in this game, you either can do ridiculous strap cargos, or it just doesn't work for any of the cargo on the back. There's no in between. So Naturally, this didn't work out, but I'm still going to leave this in because I want to show you what the state of the game is. This thing, I want to love this truck. I want to use this truck. It being able to carry two very annoying to get around vehicles to build a road or halfway across the map, on the southern side anyway. I later found out the map was double in size than what I thought. Heck, this is like the lower third of the map, really. Any little rock bouncing or something can just throw the whole truck. Did you notice that little rock that just threw my entire heavy truck sideways? And that was all it took because there was no cargo controls, no containment for that vehicle in the back. So I'm still have one vehicle in the back. Now, mind you, I'm frantically pushing the 3 key a few times. See that cannot secure cargo? I'm not BSing you. I tried. Even standing still, I tried. And it was not possible. At no point did the cargo actually strap down on the back. The strapping cargo apparently only works on physicalized cargo, not on vehicles that you put on the back of a large vehicle / cargo container. However, once everything was up there, hand driven by me, it worked out a lot better. One thing that was a disappointment, I think you'll see a clip of it later, is the mule with the plow on the front. It doesn't grade the roads correctly like this one can. So right now this is in marching mode on the plow, and what it's going to do with its setup is it's going to go and push all the stuff down automatically. This is important because sand in some places on these maps is extremely painful to get until you get the mobile scaler later. So, especially on the map Sunken, when you're mid-game, you're not unlocked every amazing piece of equipment ever made, and you have other roads to make, you really want to be economical on the sand, especially for you building double-upped roads. The game is forcing you to. There's no choice. You have to complete both roads. And then there's a second set of double roads further in. So I tried to get creative with the bunker. So I did this by myself because I noticed when the game does automated on the laying of asphalt, on the asphalt layer, it gets a little weird. So it doesn't want to do a double road. It wants to build like a single road next to a single road, like literally checking off the box. And because the game does not limit the amount of asphalt, it's kind of silly not to do the whole road, as in make it a double road. That gives it more tolerance for the AI trucks to be able to get by. If you're trying to squeeze by on the same road as they're flying, multiple routes through here, that gives you those opportunities. So I tried my hand at this, and it went okay. If you look at the middle, you'll note that already there's like it's not even, but it's even enough. So I tried to get a little fun. I tried to do the side of the road because I was like, okay, well, I'll get real clever. I'll do it all the way on the sides. I'll do it all the way in the middle. And this is what happens when you have this wider vehicle with this on the back, but its actual stance of where its power is coming from on the treads, it only has so much space to work with, unfortunately. It's not ideal. Not ideal is the keywords. It works. I mean, it works well enough, I guess. And you'll note that I had to close up the truck in order to get it to go up. Also, these areas on the ends here, I highly recommend that you open up the sides and do these on their own, slap asphalt on them. Because if you don't, the AI trucks will dig their heels in on these randomly. It's like a random event. Like, you'll have, like, trucks going by, like, 7 deep even, but, like, the 8th truck just happens to have trouble, and then it just guns its engine, and it's those trucks that are, like, box trucks that have that extra wheel in the middle. They have 3 sets of wheels, and all the power is on the second wheel towards the back. So they have, like, 1 wheel in the front that steers, and they have 2 wheels on the back, which are in theory power, but the actual trucks they use for AI in this game, for the bulk majority of the missions, suck. They just are terrible, terrible trucks. And they only have a single axle that just spins and spins away, and they just dig in and dig in. And the AI is not smart enough to not do that, unfortunately. They have made improvements on this patch, which all of this is being recorded on the patch they did about 2 weeks ago. Forgive the mouse clicking. I'm going to get the exact patch number for you while we're recording this. But in general, they still suck. They're just better than they were. And that's okay if there's more patches coming, and soon, ideally. But still, so when we're talking about patch 1.5 is specifically what I'm talking about. And then we had patch 1.6 that was a follow-up patch on June 10th that I'm also covering. And in patch 1.5, they had significant changes to the AI, supposedly, including the idea that if one of the AI vehicles gets through, the rest of them count. That's not the case, except in very specific circumstances. It feels like basically the vehicle has to get like stuck between the last point and the end in order for that to count. For some reason. So on the T's new vehicles, it looks like the top right is like a command vehicle. The lower vehicle is a trailer. It's like a mixed-use cargo trailer. And then above it, it looks like possibly even a new scout. And then another van that's a new scout. So that's basically what some of the hinted ones are. And they said some of them are already running on AI. And that is the case. The top left one that you saw was one of the vehicles I actually like. It's when they do the electrical work and the radio tower communications people and stuff. They run around in that truck. And that's actually a useful truck that doesn't get bogged down in the muck like all the time. But anyway. So that's how the road looks when you try to double it up properly and you don't let the AI do it. So you complete the request, and then you'll note the middle is paved so they don't dig their heels in there. And yeah, you can do some of the sides if you really want to experiment. Now when we go past here, you'll note that this is another area right nearby that I had some excess sand, and I tried to get creative. I was like, what if I didn't have the vehicles nearby that could weigh down and crush that tree, or chop up the tree? And that's actually a solution you can do, is put a pile of sand down and then just run asphalt and don't do anything else to it. Just do those two things, and you can get creative. You could even, after you're done that, you could even do the full thing, like roll it and stuff. If the sand pile's already flat enough, you don't have to do the middle ground and take your loader and push it there with the dozer blade. It is what it is. I think a lot of times with these double roads, they tend to be right near each other. So you end up with this game of, how am I going to complete this? And you start getting a little bit of fatigue about doing the same type of work in multiple places. So I thought it'd be a little fun is if I have the one side of the road getting finished, well, not finished, but getting asphalted, while the other side of the road is getting pushed by the dozer. And at the same time having both running back and forth, which is pretty neat. If you're automating, you can get away with stuff like this pretty easily, and you can have some fun while you're playing. And you could be driving a whole different objective or fixing gear in another place while this is all being done. Just check back every few minutes. It takes, only like 3-4 minutes for it to get done. It's work. So 5 minutes later, if you check again, you'll see if it got done right or not. The only thing you have to worry about is sand, because sand is limited until you go back and refill somewhere. And in the top right corner, you'll see those little blue fuel containers whenever I'm in the menus. And those are your fuel load to unlock different locations. For those who don't know, you can unlock a whole sand pit that's nearby. But in some cases, you may want to get economical with those fuel containers because you want to use them later in the mission for bringing up these annoying vehicles. Just bringing up a command vehicle and then wasting the fuel, using up the fuel then to teleport them into position, can be quite useful, or at the very least respawning them nearby. So sometimes it's not worth your effort to waste those fuel containers to unlock sand pits everywhere, if you're just very careful with your sand and you take good care. If you're using like a 20 or 30 ton truck to haul the sand haulers that have a dump capacity, the dump trucks and the bowhead, they're pretty useful for that stuff. Speaking of my favorite 30-ton truck and this wonderful little AI group going across all these different roads we just built, here it is. inside the bowhead. One of the best, I think, designed ones in the game. This was the pre-order for everybody, and no matter if you had the deluxe or not. Great little truck. One of the interesting things about the sand drop on this is that it can take its incredible load of sand and turn the entire truck like 90 degrees or even backwards dump. Very, very useful when you're on the side of a hill or you're in a unique spot trying to fill it up right next to a bridge opening and stuff like that. Very useful. Here's again that AI test. This is on the 1.5 fix. You'll note the first one got through, no problem. Drove right on in. And the other ones are having a little bit of trouble. Yep, look at that. They're having trouble. But I was assured, I was assured by the patch notes that if the first one got in, everything would be okay. I was assured. Would you look at that? It didn't work. What a coincidence. So now I gotta go play the move the ball in the round the game or redispatch and hope they teleport into the the better angle now. And there's that damn second wheel screwing us up. Digging its heels in even more. You can see the next truck trying to phase in, but it has to wait until the first truck leaves that little pocket, which is not going to happen. If there's one thing I despise in this game, it's not even the AI escort missions, which I'm not a fan of. It's the fact they use the worst vehicles in the game for it. That truck is despicably bad. Anyway, this is another vehicle I got during the Sunken map. Most of this video, well, all this video up till now is from Sunken. You'll see some additional from the next missions up, but at the end. But I was a big fan of that truck. I thought it was interesting. I'm not as big of a fan as the Bowhead, because the Bowhead doesn't have the wheel problem, where if I really wanted to work at it, I could. But speaking of letdowns, this mule that's a cross between the dozer and a mule is the biggest letdown of the game. In my last video, I recommended this vehicle, and I apologize if you bought it because of that. Obviously, I'm talking about in-game. You can't even buy these with real-world money, thank goodness. But this right here, this truck is worthless. It can't do grading properly. Its marching mode is too low to the ground, so the blade is sitting super low to the ground, so it gets caught on everything. And also, it cannot do automatic ground leveling for roads. And even worse, because it's got the carry bin on the back but no cargo crane, it can only kind of just carry stuff into place. But once it gets there, it has no means to dump it off the back or a cargo crane it off the back. So it still has to rely on other trucks. So it has the limitations of the other trucks. Here it is getting stuck because its marching blade, it keeps getting caught in the mud while it's going by. It doesn't quite clear the ground. It doesn't quite do anything. I could lower it, and then it would be even worse. Basically, the truck just gets stuck in the ground. It's an extremely poor truck. Waste of resources unless you have everything else in the game. I would not buy this vehicle. Also, unlike the traditional Mule T1 with the cargo crane, it does not have a straight back. If you noticed, it's a trailer. It's like a tractor with a trailer on the back. So it has different characteristics. Like, it can do some unique turning, sure, but it's not able to transfer all the power to the back, and it's not able to stay as stable as the other truck. It also doesn't have the outriggers of the Mule T1. It's basically the Mule T1's worst cousin, unfortunately. Even though it's in the same kind of category of vehicles, it's nothing like it. I can't stand this freaking vehicle. That's a shame. I should love it. If it would even just automatically do the roads, I'd tolerate it. Here it is, having trouble even just climbing this hill in all-wheel drive and differential locked on. You'll note that with a lot of vehicles in this game, they have diff lock, even all-wheel drive lock sometimes, or in certain modes. That's just how they are. But for scout work, it's mediocre at best. It really isn't great. But it is making it up here, kind of, sort of, so there's that. I guess that's something going for it. But there's better trucks to spend your resources on. Anyway, that's unlocking the fact that I need to go over the other side of the bridge. This is a kind of a handholdy thing I don't like about the game. Well past the prologue, well past the trainings of any kind. I should not have had to go all the way up here. note this truck is not able to, like the Mule T1, to even gather those resources, those nice little barrels there. I should be able to take with me, but I can't because I'm in this stupid truck. Anyway, I knew that bridge was broken. I knew there was stuff on the other side I should have gone to explore, but the game would not let me do any of that until it unlocked the bridges by me going up that hill and staring at it. I don't understand why sometimes. It feels very handholdy, and it feels like the game is trying to be linear when it doesn't need to be. If you note right here, there's a difference between the cost of a big bridge and a small bridge. And sometimes, even if I had an 8 up in the top corner for concrete, I have 7 for the astute that are noticing. But in some cases, you don't want the big heavy bridge if you can get away with the smaller bridge, because then I have less concrete to lug. And also, I can save those resources for surprises later. Because the game does not give you it only gives you partial hints. It doesn't give you full hints of what you're going to be doing next, especially 2-3 steps ahead. You can really box yourself into a corner if you go grandiose with the bridges everywhere, especially with concrete and steel, super valuable resources. Both. The wood is usually easier. A lot of maps will be very merciful with the wood. They'll let you just kind of gather it and then take it to places and store it. And then you got wood. Because remember, you can make your own like logs with 2 vehicles. That's extra work, but you can do it. So if you're going to go grand, don't go Roman Empire and building stone everywhere. Concrete in this case, modern concrete in this case. Get simple. Go with the wood if you're going to insist on that. You don't need any special place to do that. You can make the poles yourself, store them in your garage, and then when you get future garages unlocked and they're like, we need 6 bridges, you have the ability to just pop them out. There's a lot of times where the game will just turn around and say you need 10 poles or 10 steel pipes or something, and some of those are in this video, some of them aren't. They're kind of frustrating, but these are some of the more fun parts for me, these exploring with inside a truck type things. It gets a little silly sometimes, especially because later on you'll see a truck that's a massive crane that would have made this much easier, and the game strategically didn't give it to me until later in the match, which is kind of annoying. If it's the same map, I should be able to get my hands on it in one way or another, or at least drop me a hint that there's objectives I can use to unlock it faster. Because having to do all this chutes and ladders stuff and then find out I have a crane that's able to pick this truck up like it's a Tonka toy and just throw it in here no problem, or even better, take the objective without having to do the puzzle at all, and I'm not able to do that until later, is really annoying. You'll note that little piece of reinforced broken concrete right there is what's causing all these problems. Some of the stuff in the game is destructible and some of it isn't. Some of the stuff is stronger than the vehicles themselves, and it can get really annoying really fast, this stuff. And it's not like real life. You can't just pull out a concrete saw and go walk over and zip and go right through that, or a sawzall with a demo blade and cut through that rebar. No, you don't get to do all that. You got to do it with the truck, and the truck has its limitations. It is amazing, but it is at the same time a truck with all of its limitations of being a truck. So I recorded this, 72 hours ago or something like that, and in the previous amount of time, a high wind shear event came through my area, nearly took down my power lines. I had to clear a bunch of trees, branches, and also pull a lot of overtime at work. So you'll forgive me if I'm a little bit different. I feel like I had months of experiences in the span of just a couple days lately. Interesting times. I also have to record the RSI meteor updates I have for Star Citizen. So I have a little bit of a lead on that. And nothing internal, but just interesting changes to the Mantis for those who are interested in what my next video is going to be. So I'll put a small plug here. Thank you to my long-term subscribers for sticking around. If you have not subscribed, please consider doing so. You don't have to do it publicly, just do it if you feel so inclined, if you appreciate the content. And feedback is always welcome. So if that annoys you and that's making you unsubscribe, that's just fine too. Anyway, back to the puzzles here. So one of the things that's frustrating is that the vehicles do not allow you to have like a person on the ground. For all the AI pathing and you know, CPU type gameplay that this thing does. I really wish it just allowed me to have a pair of people that could hop out of this Mule T1 and run out there and put little pegs on the ends of this rolling piece, so it would not stop. It would stop rotating towards me. It almost feels intentional that the puzzle, to make it more challenging or something, they're always sloped towards where you drive in. It just feels really awkward and strange. And if they can't do that, then honestly, just get rid of the barrels. Like, get rid of the broken pipes at least. I understand live pipes are a big part of the game, but broken pipes, other than the ones you pull out of a pipe that's broken and you need to replace that section, should not exist, because the game physics are just so merciless when it comes to things that can turn and rotate. And the barrels are easier to work with, but the giant pipes and those medium pipes are very, very annoying and not satisfying. I don't mind gameplay that takes a while. I don't mind it. That's why I'm going to leave this in and show you like realistic gameplay. Again, if you came across this video instead of my first one and you're still on the fence about this game, and you're willing to be this far in, or jumping around chapters even and spending some time on this video, it shows you're interested. But just understand, this is what you're going into. Puzzles are made more complicated by debris you have to remove, and that debris is not, sometimes can get really annoying to work with due to the quirky physics of the game. Additionally, the design of the spaces is such that the rolling pieces become a serious liability every single time you remove them, particularly the larger ones, because your axles can get stuck under them. Now, when you're operating a crane truck, or a hybrid crane truck like this, like a transport truck that happens to also be able to do the cargo truck that can also do the crane, it's not that big of a deal. But in any other vehicle in the game, if you get a barrel stuck, depending on the type of vehicle, you can get really screwed over. Now, I'm sure somebody will pipe up in the credits and the comments and say, oh, well, what about tread vehicles? Yes, it's nice, but not everything in the game is tread vehicles. Sometimes the game requires you, in many cases requires you, to have you or an NPC drive said vehicle, and you don't get to pick the vehicle. I covered earlier the triaxle, really frustrating vehicles that the AI love to use for the AI. It's like the default box truck, I'll call it, without the box. It's like a flatbed with walls. And that thing is infuriating sometimes, because the AI will just dig in and make their problems worse. I decided to get a little adventurous here. I say, you know what, I got the crane truck, I can take advantage of this and not move 14 more pieces of debris or something like that. Maybe not. So I'm kind of going through and then saying, you know what, maybe it's not worth the risk. Let me at least get this other medium barrel thing that I'm not fond of, if I haven't made that crystal clear by now, and get it out of the way. I'm currently on a slope. You'll see to the right of me is a giant slope, and then there's this little bit of a gully mercifully to my left, so that barrel will not roll back to me, or the pipe will not roll back to me like they always do. So I'm using the concrete here to kind of cheat, because a lot of times these puzzles are one way. You get in, you drop the item, or you take the item, and then you leave a different direction. So that's kind of what I end up doing a lot of times. Right now I'm throwing on low gear, I'm throwing on all-wheel drive, I'm throwing on all the fun stuff, but really what the game wants you to do is mount to these yellow points that are at the top, and then use your crane lift to drag yourself up the steps. Even if I removed all the items, it wouldn't have helped. If I put debris on the steps, it wouldn't have helped. In fact, the debris will start dancing around differently. The physics are not fully realistic. They try to get close, but they're not there. So, and again, you can't have a little person running out and putting ramps down. You can't have somebody who's throwing even a few pieces of lumber out there, 2x6s or something like that. You just don't have that capability to create new things. It's whatever the vehicle can do or whatever the situation scenario lets you do. Now you'll note in the top left here, this one here requires me to bring this down, but I'm not quite sure exactly where it's going to land. There's no way to kind of gauge that other than where your mount point is. So you work through the mount points and you try to see which one you're going to get the best with. And I figure that's the safest one. I don't want this thing to go right brothers on me. So if I grab the corner at the bottom, drag it over slowly, I should be able to put it in a good spot for me to drive across. Again, I'm not able to secure this on the ground. There's all these tools on this tool site, despite its damage, that are designed to operate and function around masonry, concrete, rebar, materials, and build them. I can't just go and bolt cutter open a storage container during this disaster situation where that would be warranted, and go you borrow the tool, even if I have permission, of course. I can't, right? So instead, I've got to go play Chutes and Ladders here with the one truck and this puzzle game, and can't just secure down the piece of concrete behind me in the right spot. It would be far more satisfying if I could, even if I couldn't see the team doing it. I remember games like World of Tanks and War Thunder and all these other silly games that are fun, to hang out in and have a good time, some rounds. And those games, they have vehicles where you should be able to see people. Just like this truck, you should be able to see somebody operating a lot of this equipment and such, other than the driver, or the driver will have to get out and adjust the crane or whatever. But for some reason in this game, there's like this approach of we want it to be focused solely on the trucks. And even if you didn't want to animate people running around and stuff, you could at least just make it virtual. Like you could choose to do something. There's a tick down motion, maybe a static image of a person doing something like as a hologram. And then, because there's other ones that are like holograms when you're deploying these items, like this case where I'm trying to take it. This case would be like a hologram. And then when you place it, it turns blue to let you know it's good. And you let go. It deploys it. You don't see people like bolting this to the ground. This is safe, right? It's also outside. Why is it outside? Because the game's decided so. So you can see a lot of these tangled messes that the game puts you in because you cannot secure the concrete. You roll across it, it moves, and then again you don't feel satisfied because it's just absolutely ridiculous. Thank goodness I brought a crane truck. If I didn't bring this, if I didn't bring the Mule T1, I would be stuck with a scout vehicle and I wouldn't be able to do anything here. Because the crane truck's not just about grabbing a point and getting me an angle. It's also a counterbalance. It acts as an ability to protect, be able to move everything around the world around me instead of me trying to yank myself across the world and hope for the best. I believe the real way this puzzle was supposed to be played was that a scout would ram the safe off the side of the side of the building there, and then you would drive up next to the building and take it with you. But again, I want to be able to solve these things the way I want to solve them, and ideally give me the tools so I can properly set up infrastructure to do these puzzles, not feel so Wile E. Coyote about them. So to me, this is all part of like a failure in the design of the puzzle. And I like this game, I really do, and I'm glad that there's going to continue development on it. But at the same time, it's really, really annoying the way the game decides to do this stuff. Again, I'm leaving this in. I feel that realistic is a very fair way to do it, where I'm wasting minutes of time not actually completing objectives, just trying to get out of these silly puzzles. So finally I figure out that there's mounting points above. I should have thought of that 5 minutes ago. Yeah, that's great, whatever. But this is realistic gameplay. I can see a lot of people that are weekend warriors that want to spend 3-4 hours just having a good time on a Saturday morning rolling around this. and they would be very frustrated by that puzzle. They'd probably quit and they'd probably leave the game and come back a few weeks later like, all right, I'll try it again. But I feel like they would feel very demoralized by that. Like I had to waste all that time just to complete the puzzle. And I don't think these puzzles are they're too big part of the game. There's quite a few of these where you have to find something, figure out how to get there, and it's in a construction environment, which the construction environments are too narrow. These tall concrete poles that are building the next floor up, they're always there. And it's like, it's not realistic to begin with because I can't use realistic tools and crews on the ground that would help me with rigging and help me with temporary construction on the site to make a path to the location and then safely move the thing. So if I can't do all that, then why do I have to adhere to realistic of all these poles that I can't pass through? And there's just too many of them for this giant truck. Even a scout vehicle, the Humvee, is actually quite wide for its size. And once it gets there, is severely limited with its winch capabilities from the front or the back from a single mounting point. Where I have a variable mounting point that's 360 degrees on this vehicle. Hell, it's an all-axis mounting point that can move and can change my center of gravity. There's no contest. So this is what I'm talking about, the holograms earlier, that are the safes that you put into place. There's a few of these in the game. They are quite heavy, which makes them more annoying to work with, but they do fit well into the back because they're big old rectangles. And these boxes aren't too bad. But the puzzle is the biggest problem right now. These rewards, especially some that are even optional, you should look very carefully at them about what they offer. A lot of times they'll give you huge hints, like it's a gas station. It's like, well, that's what a gas station's going to do. It's going to offer fuel, right? And then there's other ones that are like, they're whole garages, and you can see like the outline of the garage door that opens for the AI vehicles and stuff. And you're like, well, this is going to be quite useful, even if it is something that is not so official objective. And there's other side objectives that are just kind of nonsense. They're feel-good ones. This is egregious, the amount of these poles. And again, note the slope. The slope in the middle of the road is perfectly made to be as annoying as possible. So the poles, if you don't drag these pipes out of the way in the right way, they will simply roll back into the location. I cannot stress how annoying this is. And it shuts down the game basically for about 5 minutes, where you're just, okay, I'm gonna move 20 of these things. There's no like harvesting of these things in a satisfying manner where you get resources and feel like you built something. If you're going to do this, put right nearby a recycling location where I can turn them into something else right away that's actually useful, like in bulk. Like, make this a satisfying procedure, not just, oh, I got 15 pipes to move. This is in a sloped area with the physics of the game, rolling them back in over and over again. It's just the worst thing. It's just the worst. Here, and by the way, this is right nearby. That edit brought you to show you the second set of those pipes. All right, on to something more positive. This was kind of a cool castle. So again, something more positive. This is one of the neat little side attractions. So this is they purposely said it was like a tourist trap, tourist location where somebody built this castle. It's in the location, and they're now using it as a relief camp and resupply location. This falls into that neat to see, well worth the side objective to at least go unlock and visit it. If you want to try to get your AI to go all the way up into the mountains of the north end of Sunken, good freaking luck for the next part, but at least getting there is fun. So, yeah. On to the basically the tail end of Sunken, and one of the most satisfying things in the game so far, actually, is the pump systems. So throughout the map, the bane of your existence is these giant pits of death that are full of water. Remember, if your vehicle gets above its air intakes too long, it will actually shut off the vehicle, and then you have to respawn it, and you drop whatever cargo you're carrying. And so water is not exactly ideal, and it's very hard to see what the depth of water is. On Sunken in particular, it punishes you with that. It's part of the puzzles and part of the game and part of the problem solving you have to do for all of your objectives. And one of the things I've been doing is throwing objects into the water when there isn't an indication. Like if there's overgrowth in the water or there's a big rock in the water, I can pretty much gauge the depth. But if you notice, like right there, for example, I had to use like the crane to save me, to get me out of the slippery slope coming out of the water onto asphalt. So even asphalt will not keep you safe if it's broken up and damaged by the debris. You will note sometimes the map misleads you. You got a road that leads to the middle of water. You could build ridiculous bridges and go carve out like 35 trees and build these 4 massive bridges or something, whatever. I don't know what the game wanted you to do, but instead you can just mountain goat it over there, as long as you're careful and don't flip, to make your own road, which I think is part of the game, honestly, that's most satisfying, is when you can problem solve yourself. This right here is a pump that is going to take care of the southern part of Sunken, and these pits are huge. And one of the neatest things in this game is that after we build this pump, there's quite a surprise. You'll note that it's not just the pump in a lot of these. It's like you have to rebuild a piping system, so usually it requires a pipe as well. Probably a larger vehicle in this circumstance would be warranted, because you could leave a large crane or a small crane over by a depot and unload from your garage a larger carry-all type vehicle, like that giant off-roady one that we just got, and have the pump plus pipes. But to be fair, it still would be quite tight for it to make the final moves into this position. Even if you did it the fair way, you can see right where the gravel tracks come from. It's pretty tight turns. So even if you came here and you built those silly bridges or whatever it wanted you to do, you would still have some pretty tight turns at the end there, and then getting through the fence. You can drive through most of these fences, by the way, but then they can get stuck in your grates of your vehicle. So it's best not to damage them if you can avoid possible. That's kind of a best practice anyway. Try not to break stuff that you don't need to break. It's not an emergency, right? So a lot of this game is kind of like the weeks after a disaster. It's not like the first 24 hours. It's not the first few days. You're restoring normalcy. That's kind of your objective, is to rebuild, residential, commercial areas, industrial areas, everything, right? And you're kind of on a different timeline, because all the life safety stuff seems to have already been done in this world. It's past that. I wouldn't be surprised if someday they do a DLC for that part of it, like a search and rescue DLC would be kind of interesting. Or at least you're supporting a search and rescue team, maybe in a couple different maps. That'd be nice for them to add. See the broken pipe? I didn't bring a pipe, so I have to go all the way back and go get a pipe. Luckily, the Mule T1 is pretty quick at this. I don't know if this is post-patch, by the way, but it seems like it's harder to get pipes off with the small crane. It's possible they did a balance pass and didn't put that in the notes. Maybe I'm just imagining things. I don't know. But I now have to figure out where to put this damn pipe, because, again, ground is sloped, ground is annoying. And maybe I'll recycle with it, maybe I won't. Who knows? So that's what's all going through my head right now. I'm turning the entire load so it will fit, making that decision of, do I really want to drag this with me or not? And then I realized I can just retain this vehicle. I can recover it from here. And then I have a one-way trip back. And do I really want to drag one dead pipe, broken pipe, to be used for partial pipe material all the way back with me? And the answer is no. The answer is heck no. So what I ended up doing was doing all this and then making that decision of recovering, holding down R, and then spawning back at the depot at the base. And yeah, but it is quite a beautiful game. Take a moment to mention this even this flooded out quarry is quite beautiful. So these pipes are not the original pipes you saw earlier. That when I recovered, I went back to base, which is only up the hill down south of here, and then I just started gathering all these resources. And there we go. And you'll note that. So all these blue items were able to create recycled in the bottom left corner. 2 steel pipes. When I hit Z, they appear on the other pad. Now, looking back, I should have grabbed both of these. I forget if I did or didn't, but one of the things this game just loves to do sometimes is you'll complete an objective where it just needs 1 pipe to complete the objective, and then sure enough, an objective or 2 later, you need that other pipe. You need that other resource, extra steel beams, whatever the first thing was, you suddenly need more of it. And I think it's because the game knows you got access to something. So the objectives kind of stack in a way where you unlock, yeah, see, I forgot the other pipe and I regret that later. The game stacks objectives around these unlocked resource positions. The game is less about your vehicles and more about the resources and where they're allocated at to make it a challenge or not a challenge. So if you can bypass that by producing a few more pipes or a few more steel beams or whatever else, and then just carrying them on one of these trucks, it's pretty useful. By the way, I have 2 T1 mules now. So a lot of these clips, there's no like big number 1 or 2 like a Thunderbirds movie or show or something. They're just, you just have to know they're painted the same color, they're the same thing, they're the exact same vehicle, but they're 2 different ones. And I can spawn one and do the recovery game on the one while the other one is on standby with resources in the back payload. And that makes my life so much easier now. And they're not that expensive. Anyway, back to this. So the quarry is being dumped of water. That's what's going on right now, very slowly. Well, slowly for a video, but not slow. I don't know, I'm no expert but on pumps, but I don't think it would be this fast. So you know, you have your massive pumps there, your trash pumps or whatever they are, pumping all that water out. And if you look over there into the quarry, what a sight. There's an entire little ecosystem going on down there of industrial equipment. And I see islands, I see movable pieces of kit, I see future work. So you can see those to the left corner, like a 9 o'clock position. You can see that those big old concrete chunks. You know what those are? They're for you to drive on, and you know how I feel about those. So we're gonna have to solve that nonsense right quick. But for this moment, it's beautiful. So inside this quarry, again, is a whole bunch of resources that you can salvage. So if you're stuck where you don't have enough metal of some type or concrete of some type, you can absolutely go down and grab it. And you can use those big old pieces of concrete to act as bridges. So you don't have to waste your valuable resources to go get more resources. In this game, remember, damaged materials tend to be something that is, it's only a partial. So it can take a considerable amount of resources to build out just a couple pieces of something. Luckily, you can take a damaged pipe and turn it into a steel beam. You can take old pieces of wrought metal and junk and have a whole VL core or something and turn it into a pipe. Concrete is the weird one. Concrete is the one that requires certain materials. You can see I'm starting to speculate about the fog of war edges there. Like, where do the roads start and stop? I'm also noting that the salt quarry is not built, but the pink salt is out, La Rose, but the De Mars quarry is not empty. That's a problem. Again, in real life, you would simply have new piping added. We tend to know where we can make more pipe, and we have apparently the expertise to put it in, and run pipes over to the other quarry, or move the whole pump over to the other quarry after it's done pumping this one. There's no mention. To be fair, they could have mentioned it, but they didn't. Well, the quarries are, it's constantly pumping. We have to burn all this diesel and keep this thing running, or electricity and keep this thing running. Otherwise, it'll reflood. It's like, it's not what seems to be going on, but sure. Seems like that big building is supposed to be pumping everything, and this pump is replacing it. So, again, realistic versus puzzle. It's something you're going to have to come to terms with if you like this game. I now notice that second pipe issue. If only I just would have had an extra pipe on me, I would have been able to finish this. It is what it is. So I have to go get another pipe all the way back from the pipe factory, because I have none of my garage cash, because I've been using it all due to these requirements that this game has had. I will note Sunken's also been a real gutbuster when it comes to steel beams and pipes. There's like some quests that are like, just get us 10 steel beams. So it's like, I don't know where you expect me to just make them appear, but suddenly a bunch of recycled materials all get recycled all over the map. You should never cross your AI like this, but the pathing required it, because the end point or the start point of the other path is literally on the other side of where the start point is of this one. The reason you don't want to cross them is because the AI is really stupid and they'll ram into each other, and then you'll get 2 canceled routes, and you have to, if you're unlucky, see how there's a little vans driving through? At the wrong time, that would be a serious problem. That's the game's problem. They should have made these dots opposite. The dot for the vans that was from earlier should have been on the far north bay, and the more southern bay should have been for this new route. Also, I want to compliment the game on something, in that this is the nice truck. The old beater truck this thing looks like, this thing can get around. It has proper off-road wheels. It doesn't just spin its second axle into the mud and make a massive hole that I then have to fill with sand and asphalt. This thing is nice. I wish they were all just this until they could figure it out. This thing has its own limitations. This truck in specific has a big, I think it's a fuel tanker in it, or just tool holder or something that's between the first axle and the second axle. Barrels tend to get caught between that, but I can't fault that much. I mean, at the end of the day, that they want the game to be a pain to get around and do those things. It's part of the game to solve that. At least it doesn't make the problems worse and dig a massive hole and make a nightmare for everything. So, our next stop is going to be this other pipe to fill out this final quarry on the southern part of Sunken. You will spend probably 20 hours of your gameplay just on this damn map. Maybe you're a whiz at this stuff more than I am. I don't know. I'm not trying to speed race through these things, but I estimate it's about 20 hours of time to finish Sunken, and you have to finish it. Even if you knock out Incommunicado, it looks like you can go to the next set of maps, scenarios, whatever you want to call them, but doesn't let you. They're locked until you complete both Incommunicado and Sunken. Incommunicado was a pleasure compared to this. Building up the radio towers and restoring electrical infrastructure, it was very fun. Sunken is just a nightmare. Again, the giant heavy rocks that can roll, items that can roll, purposely put in your way on a sloped scenario. Notice the grade of the road is towards where you're coming from. I cannot stress how annoying this is. There's no easy way to get these rocks out of the way. There's just no practical way. Like, I would love to attack these from the sides. I would love to get behind them. I would love to put these trees in the above me, send out a couple guys with chainsaws, knock down the trees, and then ratchet strap the trees together to kind of create like a holding pattern for these rocks. You know, so you basically create a little, like say just two pieces of a dead tree on the side, or two pieces of cut down tree on the side, and then that holds all the rocks behind it. It's only a temporary solution until you can restore resources to these areas, right? And they're just industrial tracks. There's 50 different ways you could address this, and this is the worst way. Just dragging, and these rocks keep wanting to come at you. It's like, this is the most annoying thing. And then in the back of your mind, you're going, okay, what if I need to get an AI vehicle through here? It's bad enough it's for me. What happens when an AI plows into one of these freaking rocks and knocks it into the rest of them? And then I have to come all the way back down here late in the match just to take care of that. It's no good. It's just not fun. And I don't know why the designers of the game thought this was funny, thought this was cool, thought this was fun. I don't understand it. So over time, you start getting a little more wary of this, especially on the map Sunken. I can't stress enough, they made a mistake on this map. It should be an optional map, probably. It might be more fun if you came back with a whole bunch of extra vehicles and we're suddenly able to do some more exciting things. Because the heavy transport truck you earn on this map is not very good. It's okay. The one with the giant trailer and off-road wheels on the front. I know it was the symbol of their previous game. I know that, but this isn't Mud Runner. This game is not Mud Runner, and by its nature, these little puzzly, rocky things and rolly, dead barrels that are pipes and everywhere are just annoying. I'd rather do more of pumping out water from quarries and exploring them and finding rare resources and saving really cool vehicles and restoring power to people's areas and bringing back communications to a whole town. That is far more interesting to me than moving these damn rocks, moving these damn pipes over and over and over and over again. Especially Sunken, there's not as much satisfaction because aside from the quarries, there's not much going on this map. It's all industrial. It's all back roads industrial stuff, like quarries. And it's like, well, what the hell's a quarry matter? You know, like this whole region got nailed or something by a massive storm. So I'm much more interested in seeing something else. The first map did a really good job. Second map, I think it is officially, because I don't count the prologue. The first map did a really good job, second map, if you want to call it that, of you're restoring a port. So that's really exciting. You know, you're restoring something people need. This is moving rocks. So the pink quarry can just look at the damage to their old drilling rigs. I cannot stress how little this is a good idea. And yeah, at the end you start getting fatigued, you start making mistakes, you start moving just tons and tons of rock. You can't bother to use outriggers because unfortunately if you use outriggers it's going to take even longer to do any of this, because the rocks will roll up to the front of your vehicle or to the side of it, bounce into it, and then they're just stuck there, or they're just sitting there, and then you have to spend all this extra time switching around the crane's positioning, heights, and everything else to try to make it do anything. I just don't understand. Maybe I wasn't made for this game when it comes to these parts anyway. I just suffer through them to get to the cool parts. And there's hours and hours of gameplay I've been very satisfied by. I've done 42 hours in here so far. Maybe 45 by time of recording. I haven't bothered to check again. But this is not fun. So you finally get through all the rocks. And then the game's like, go build a bridge, LOL. Like 5 feet up here. I want you to build a bridge if you want to even use this area. Just such a waste. Also, you can try to link La Rose with Lava, the other quarry. Game of quarries. I don't know what the game was thinking. And, yeah. Take this moment again to remind you there are chapters for this game, so if you're not looking for tips or realistic takes on this game or playthrough type stuff, you absolutely can just jump ahead. But yeah, I also take this moment to remind you wood is a good idea. You have a lot of wood literally right next to you, but you have to bring 2 different vehicles to process it. But if you, well, 1 vehicle really, you can change it into wood, and then you can't grip it with that vehicle, but you could maybe grab the tree, slow walk it over, process. I have to trust that. You might be able to do it all in 1 vehicle. That would be really useful, because the trees are literally next to the job site for the bridge. Anyway, pipes in, so now you can see the other quarry in the south. To the left of La Rose is it being fully pumped out, so you have your salt quarries starting to go fully out. A lot of cool stuff appearing, a lot of resources you can take, including a full vehicle. For those who don't know, a vehicle can spawn multiple steel bars and pipes, your choice, whichever one you decide to do. They are a pain to get this far away from the reprocessing location and recycling centers, but they are there. Right now, my brain is on the north. I am starting to work towards that, and I realize that there is a decent amount of work to be done in the north, including power generation, to repair the port in the north. Or is it an intermodal center? Oh, railway. Yeah, it's intermodal. So a connection between the railways and trucks and such. You don't really do that much up there unless you do the optionals. So there's an optional where like you restore a town. That's kind of cool up there. It's a very tiny town. You give them back their plans that they lost, and you try your best to restore something there, and then that's basically the end of that story. They don't really offer you very much for help. Feels good though. So I did some of the optionals up there for the town until they became impractical to finish for the other optionals. I was kind of, by this point, kind of getting fatigued by Sunken. It doesn't help that Sunken is forced on you. It's not an optional map. Even though, again, the way the map looks when you pick your maps, the way the session picker, I guess you'd call it, the session menu looks, it looks like you get to pick Incommunicado or Sunken, and either one will unlock a whole bunch of other maps after that, including a desert map, which is the next one I did, because I was really tired of water and floods by that point. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting was that you had to get done both of these damn things. So that's kind of where I ended up. Now, it's about this time I think I get the big vehicle out again. I had to get creative because there was this very large transformer box that had to get north. So when you look at this location, there's a deliver object mission, and the object was a container. So it was like a large transformer. It didn't have like a truck built into it like some of them do. Or was it? I can't remember. Let's see. Yep, there's the giant transformer. And we are almost there. I don't know. So at this point, what I'm thinking right at this moment was that the transformer was up north. I kind of had like a moment where I wasn't thinking the right direction. But also, I thought it would be good to have one of my Mule T1s up there regardless to kind of stage it. And I have so much fuel, which I can't use in the next map. So I was able to respawn the Mule T1 down by the mobile command. So this thing is your field recovery vehicle, essentially. You can spawn off of it. Has habs and fuel, you know, for RP reasons. But really, it consumes those blue fuel tanks, the little jerry can symbols in the top right. And I had just so many of them to work with because I rarely ever use it. I don't like using a finite resource to move vehicles around. I'd rather just drive the extra half a mile or whatever it takes. But it's about this time I'm starting to realize that maybe it's the other way around. The vehicle I have to deliver is over there. I think that's how my brain went on this. But you can see the blue hologram that hasn't turned gold. And the route. Most importantly, I'll go over this route. This route is pretty rough. It's actually a very fair challenge. And I will note that the way in general these routes go is you really do want to pre-scout the parts, especially up in the mountains. That way you don't get a surprise of like 6,000 rocks or pipes that are in your way and other fun things. And I am now pre-staged for the delivery. So that's the mountain base you unlock very early on after you build your bridge and you drive across it into the north. You'll note the massive crane truck. You'll note the scout. But I need something different. I need something unique that I just got this map. Let's bring out the Zikz 605. So when you hit retain, that allows you to pull it back to your garage, and then you hit deploy again, and it costs nothing. It'll make it just reappear at the new location. So the Zikz is going to be our little chariot here to get it most of the way, because it's a heavy, gigantic F-off transformer. I have a giant crane truck already here. So that's a pretty good combination. And the crane truck can move these things like no tomorrow. Now, I've given this vehicle a lot of crap. The Zikz is kind of it's a novel vehicle. I wish I liked it more. If it could strap down cargo of vehicles, it would be worth it. It even has the ramps on the back to do that properly. Although it can't. The heavy vehicles that are a pain to move, that are way too slow, it cannot move, which is bizarre. I just thought it was funny to test that to see, like, wow, I can even just literally that whole massive cargo truck this crane can pick up. That's wild. Anyway, you see it just move this transformer like it's nothing onto the back. And this truck can strap normal cargo to it, not vehicles. At least based on the vehicles I did as of patch 1.5. Now, in general, the problem with this vehicle is not its ability to carry cargo. It obviously has a massive bed. It's very useful when it can strap it down. The problem is when you take this thing up the mountains like you need to, otherwise I just use a normal box, normal flatbed or something. You end up with this weird scenario where it's like its front can off-road like crazy, the back cannot. The back wants to keep giving out on it. All the power's in the front, massive amounts of wheels, and all those huge off-road tires it has. Whereas the back is more like an 18-wheeler bolted onto an off-road vehicle, because it basically is. It's like a car carrier bolted onto an off-road truck from like Russia or something, like the Eastern Bloc, back in the USSR days. It's a wild vehicle. It's really cool. Impractical, but really cool. And I'm hoping it'll fulfill a niche for me here, right? This is me trying to get the cargo right, because I remembered the cargo straps would not go on the vehicles. I didn't know at the time that it was the vehicle specific that the problem was. And this thing is really, really heavy, and it keeps wanting to move around a lot. So, I finally think I got it right. Did I? The answer is yes. So the car goes down. Kick off the parking brake, get rolling. One trick in this game is if you start the engine, like you W key forward to drive forward, and then you turn off the parking brake, if you happen to be on a slope, it's actually easier to get started off the line. You can also use that as like a slingshot effect to get you through certain types of boulders and stuff. It won't save you a lot of times, but sometimes it's really useful. And even from the beginning of like moving something heavy, it's not a bad idea to preload it and then kick off the brake. So this is the Zikz in action and what the front really wants to be in. It's wonderful in its element. The problem is not the front. Again, the problem is the back. The back doesn't want to be there, and it will fight you tooth and nail. It's too long. It doesn't have those bigger wheels in the right configuration. It's just got a zillion wheels, and the way they don't have like they obviously don't have power like the front does, and they don't want to be there. That's the best description I can offer. So right now I realized I made a wrong turn. Because the game offers those AI waypoints, but it doesn't allow you to like AI waypoint yourself. It would be cool for some of these rockier spots to be able to put like 6 or 7 waypoints in a row, and as you drive past them, they disable. Like they stop glowing. That would be kind of neat. You can see me trying to do this rather inelegant backing up to get this in the right place. You'll note I'm taking advantage of the 5th wheel capabilities of this vehicle. So it's not all bad. And if you noticed, it hasn't unlocked even with all that stress and strain on the tongue, which is pretty impressive. But I mean, look at what the tongue's made out of. It's just wrought steel, big old piece of it, right? So it makes sense. This is realistic gameplay. This is what this is. This is what this game is. So at this point, I realize I'm near that little command vehicle. I start remembering the route I did with the Mule T1, and I start realizing I need to start making some turns here. And unfortunately, that marker's going east. So I need to make turns, but I really needed to kind of jackknife in front of that right there. Not go east. Need to go west. Need to go down there and make a left turn, not a right turn. Again, the thing starts fighting me tooth and nail because I'm trying to back up. The metal on the back of the rig is not really designed to kind of traverse. It doesn't have the front with like that flowing plate that can kind of bounce over the rocks easily. So I'm trying to just raw power it over on an angle where all the power is going from left to right, not backwards. Not fun. So finally I realize, you know what? This is not worth it. And I just bring the mule because I have the Mule T1 right up the road. Why did I not bring this whole load on the Mule T1? The answer is because the Mule T1 would not have handled this that well all the way over here. I have a lot of experience with the Mule T1, and it would have flipped at least twice. And that meant I would have had to recover it all the way back at base or waste valuable fuel in the field container, which I don't know how many more times I want to need. And that created a huge mess. This is that kind of vehicle. Maybe the Zikz is just not for me. I can't stand this truck. So anyway, I'm vowing to try to keep realism in this long flow story. So the few people that get this far in or are not just jumping around chapter to chapter will see why this Zikz is bad. Most people would never show you this. They would be horrified at the idea of showing that they're not this amazing player at whatever game they're trying to show you. And just because you have a bunch of hours in doesn't mean every single vehicle is for you and every single vehicle is perfect for you. And anyone who tells you they will not get turned around in these mountains with no markers, no signage, no nothing is full of something. And I would highly recommend you don't listen to them about this game or any type of technical game like this, where it's all you and there's no co-op capability for this type of thing. You can co-op, but let's be real here. Most people are not going to play this game co-op. Maybe one other player once in a blue moon. You're going to play this solo, and you better enjoy it solo if you're going to play it solo, or most of the time solo. If this game was a cheaper price point, which in the future it may be, that may be a different story. It may be, you know, groups of folks suddenly are like, hey, you know what? Friday night, RoadCraft is on sale for $12.99 or something like that. Let's all buy it, you know, or a 4-pack for $35 or something, and when somebody feeling good can buy it for them and their friends. But until those days in the future down the road, this is a brand new game with a brand new price tag, and you're going to be playing it solo most likely. So with that little bit out of the way, I suddenly realized, you know what? I need to start getting creative here. So I moved the field service vehicle out of the way, this little command post thing, and I turn around and I say, you know what? The Zikz is not going to get the job done. It's time to bring in the mule. So I unstrap the cargo so it's able to do its thing, and I'll be able to go. What a piece of shit vehicle. That giant old vehicle just stuck in a rut because of a stone. Terrible. Trying to use the other vehicle as a counterweight right now. Sometimes that's worked for me in the past. The field service vehicle is not really a vehicle, it's just like a mobile spawn point. It really doesn't matter if it's sitting there weird. It doesn't really matter. I can still spawn off of it at any time. And it puts a vehicle nearby. It does not right on top of it. It does not matter where it's at, as long as it's near where I need it. And where I needed it was right there, because for some reason the game didn't give me a base all the way up there. This is part of the challenge. Anyway, out comes the Mule T1, as I described. And down it goes. Again, the Mule T1 is near perfection. This vehicle is incredible. Its biggest problem is that it's lightweight and tall. And it has excellent clearance for what it is, but it could be better. If you look from the sides, you can see those little boxes and the exhaust and such that get stuck on things once in a while. But it has the crane to get it out. It can act as a counterbalance and bounce itself out. It can push itself off with its crane. It can do so many things. It can mount to another vehicle and then pull on the other vehicle. Even if it can't raise it, it can just get it out of the way. So I'm trying to think of where the best positioning is, and I know I want to be on the other side of these rocks. And this is a UI limitation of the game. There's an objective on the back that if you click on it, it will enter. There is 3 different working vehicles, all tight-knit right on top of each other in the same location. So jumping over to the big truck to unstrap it and then also go back to this one was kind of a pain. It only took a few seconds, not the end of the world. Right now I'm like searching, and it will not let me clip into the transformer. So I have to get closer. Translation. Now, no, in real life, you would never move the crane truck with the outriggers not out, and then whatever. This is obviously a video game, but the little 6-ton crane that could is going to move this massive transformer the short extra distance. Now watch what happens to this truck when it happens. You can see the entire truck just groaning and shifting. It's wild. It's poor little outriggers. It needs 2 more at the back, honestly. So I mentioned near perfect. Well, that would be something I would add, is 2 more outriggers at the back towards the behind the rear axle. That would make it perfect. I can't tell you how many times it wants to nosedive forward if you don't have the right angle on a very heavy load. In this case, it's like leaning backwards. By having, it would almost be overpowered, I think. So yeah. So at this point, I'm panicking. What I'm realizing is, do I need to reset the load? Because the load is ridiculously silly. Notice I left the straps on until I'm ready to move the load and have full control over it. Well, as much control as a 6-ton crane will let me. It's not just heavy, this thing is big. It's just big and ridiculous. And again, game's on an angle. To be fair, we're up the mountains, I get that, but like, this is just silliness. So if you haven't figured it out yet, what the issue I'm running into is I can't turn the load because it's banging up against the crane arm. It's so wide and so big that there's only so much angle I can get on it. So at some point I just say, screw it, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to keep moving so it can't flip. And reverse the whole way. And you can just see that meter number. I'm just going, okay, 215, 210, 205, 200. So much. Another thing in the top left is the route failed thing. The route failed is absolutely annoying. There's routes that you no longer get resources from, where they just send the trucks for the sake of sending them. And then the route eventually flunks for the silly reasons, like the second axle gets stuck and the AI embeds itself, whatever. And it's like, I'm not going to repair a route where there is no resources being transferred. There's no gain, there's no benefit, the objective's long completed. So instead, I can't turn them off. I get these route failed updates on routes that should no longer be even in service. It's not fun. So I'm realizing I could really lose this. Note I strap down the cargo one more time, and then I'm going to do this in the silliest way possible. I drove through, released the straps right when I was inside the hologram, and that allowed the transformer to be installed. Success. In the silliest way possible. Note that tractor was actually recyclable. If I had a bigger truck, I would probably just take that tractor with me. To where? Probably the steel pipes facility in the north, which doesn't even have power yet. So it'd be a delayed benefit if you want to do all that. So right now I'm looking at the pipes, I'm looking at a few other things, and most importantly, I'm looking at these recyclables. There's enough recyclables around the main locations. I can't really fault the game on that. But in particular, these fences and these tracks kind of divvy up the game a little bit more. They seem to give you more resources, and they just make it a little more fun because you're so tired of seeing the same busted pipes and barrels and stuff like that, 55-gallon drums. So being able to kind of roll these through is kind of entertaining. And you kind of feel like you're helping out a little bit on something that matters. Not just yet another quarry. So you free up the straps, and it goes into the recycling materials, and off it goes. And now you can see I can make 5 steel beams. Remember I told you about those damn steel beams, pipes and beams. The game's just like, oh yeah, we need 10 steel beams. Okay, well that's not easy. But it is what it is. You gotta bring them to the quarries. And there is a unique vehicle I'm going to show you in a few minutes that the quarries have. But in general, this is just busy work. So finally get all the beams to the quarries. My reward is only $1,700 in game money. And Kelly says to me, oh, it's time to build a base now that you dropped 10 beams. So the bases in this game are super useful, although sometimes it feels like the bases on purpose are not given to you until later. Like to make you use fuel, to make you, like, I guess, more strategic with your planning. But in general, it's always silly. This is one of those silly situations. They asked me to bring this truck from the gas station. The truck, I can't access it because the objectives are all on top of each other. I have to track it first in order for it to be, like, I can enter it. And it's one of the hated trucks. It's the second axle spins trucks. So I go to take the truck to the gas station. The truck is pointed north. The truck is pointed in the direction of the objective, which is 600 meters away. Which is quite a distance when it's all off-roading in this game. So I say, okay, well, they're not going to let me go that way because it's all rocks or whatever. So I'm going to go up this dirt path here. But it's on an angle in the rain. And you know how this is going to go with this damn truck. And I figured, let me give it a shot. It's a finished little dirt road. You know, finished as in, like, people use it, I guess. So that's what I meant. So it's an in-use dirt road, backtrack, whatever. And I'm trying to make sure it goes there, but there's a fog of war to get it there. The game wants you to go spawn a scout vehicle, drive it all the way up there, scout out a route, and then after that, take this truck through. But because this truck can't off-road, that's not very practical. So I'd rather just go through the motions, find out where the problem child is, and then figure it out my way. Because I've learned from this game enough where it's just, the scout feels very unsatisfactory to use except at the beginning of the match. So you know, I put the low gear on, but that's just gonna spin this damn tires more. This truck should just be deleted from the game, honestly. Just replaced with a better truck. Or overhauled with all-wheel drive, because this truck is one of the biggest problems in having fun in this game. The AI drive these things constantly, and it's a long wheelbase with this beast amount of power on just one set of tires. There it goes, spinning away. What a useless truck. Note I tried to use the handbrake trick to try to rocket it out. The second wheel out got caught, so then the back wheel started spinning. I cannot stress what a useless truck this is. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to go begging this truck to get up this hill. I'm going to get creative here. And boy, did I get creative. I'm searching my vehicles. Before I spawn anything new now, what I've been doing is checking where my vehicle status is of different locations and my bases. So I'm kind of weigh how much time would it take to get from my base versus what's already out in the field. So I say, okay, well, my bowhead is nowhere near here, so I'm going to spawn it. And then, sure enough, this is the action here. Get stuck again. No problem. Just make sure you don't have your parking brake on. You just push it up the damn hill with a bowhead. Bit of a 30-ton vehicle that never hurt anybody. Now, the bowhead does need to have its brakes on because it keeps wanting to roll back down the hill. It really likes rolling down hills. It's kind of heavy. Surprisingly, with tracks, it can roll pretty good. Again, I have no idea if that's realistic or not, but that's how the game is. So every single time the vehicle gives me a hard time, I try to get it as straight as possible and then just ram it up the hill with the bowhead. And again, I'm shocked at how easily that thing can roll without a parking brake on the tracked vehicle. Shows I have no experience with tracked vehicles at all in real life. Anyway, there's that second axle just digging on in. Okay, so kick the low gear on. Now this is looking promising. Sometimes it's not about how far up the hill you are, it's about how far forward you're pointed, so that way you can rocket it up the hill with assistance. So what's nice about it being stuck is that it doesn't matter if you have the parking brake on or not, because it's stuck in a pit that it created for itself. So Bowhead is going to take good care of it, and kind of does like an impromptu pit maneuver looking thing on the back of that truck. And like that, the Azov starts going. Notice I keep turning off the low gear and the parking brake, because my thought was I don't want the truck to be fighting me the whole way up. I want it to be free spinning, so that way the Bowhead can do its job. Notice the objective in the back of the vehicle is making this harder. But like that, this worthless piece of trap truck actually got up the hill. And it's downhill from here. Straightaways and downhill. I don't know that yet, but who knows. So probably bypassed like 25 broken pipes in the middle of the road on a slant, all pointed back towards the road, so it's a pain in the butt to move them, probably. But I don't have to find that out, because I took the Azov down the other end. Oh, spoke too soon. The Bowhead had to come back again. I love this thing. There's other trucks too. There's a heavy sand truck you get in this map too, but I already have the Bowhead, so I really don't care. But the heavy sand truck's pretty cool, the triaxle. But yeah, that truck can basically just, those heavier vehicles, like the heavy class vehicles, especially treaded ones, they can just rewrite the game's code for you. They can just do whatever they want, pretty much. It's practically impossible to flip them. You gotta really try to flip them. And it is one of the best vehicles in the game, full stop. It's even beautiful in first person too, which is nice. You spend a lot of time in it. So off to the gas station like nothing ever happened. Again, realism is not perfect. The back of this vehicle will be all beat to crap from being rammed by a dump truck up a hill. In realistic terms, you would add tie downs, huge cables at the front, at the front of this, and then the Bowhead would pull it up the hill. That's not an option at this game. The Scout can do that, but the Scout doesn't have enough power. Most of the Scouts, anyway. I would actually be interested if there's a heavy Scout in the future. That would be nice. A heavy Scout would be pretty interesting, with the winch system on the front and the back still, and say 20 tons on it. I would really welcome that. I'd give the Scouts another chance. Because they do have scanners on board you can't use with other vehicles. So at this point, I'm being told that, we're setting up a whole new base. We're doing all this fun stuff. There goes the base camp available. And now I can do some fun things like build a road, which is quite cool in RoadCraft. You can actually build a road, and right nearby I can spawn all the vehicles without wasting valuable fuel. And that's what I'm going to do. So, got the pumps going again. I don't know if I have the footage of the road being built. Just so you know, some insider baseball here. It takes some time to build all those vehicles out and put them in the right place, and then capture footage of every single pass of them going through their motions. So sometimes I skip them, sometimes I don't. So, it is what it is. Again, it is quite satisfying. This part of Sunken is actually satisfying, where you have to accept the objective for it to start pumping, but it doesn't. So when you hit tab, you go in the map menu, and then you select that right there where it's the objective after you place the pump. And slowly but surely, an underwater zone is revealed. This area that was quite a pain point to get around with certain vehicles suddenly is no longer the case. Again, vehicles like the Bowhead just ram through. But smaller scout class vehicles and transports tend to have trouble in these places, depending on the kind we're talking about. Those beautiful little roads. One side note, the sand in this upper middle spot here, that's the key location for the whole upper map, salt mine entrance. This thing is a gut buster for those AI trucks. See that big doors on the left side? One of the objectives is to set up a path from here north, I think back to the intermodal railroad place. And you might just want to build a road there. You might just want to, for your own sanity's sake, you might just want to build a road or a bridge or something else creative over the, you can see some of that broken concrete on the left side of this little pit. And drop some sand all the way to it, drop at least some asphalt, and you don't have to finish it, but you can then put a wood bridge over this. Looking back, I spent probably a half hour fighting with this area, and it was like I could have spent that half hour just building out a proper road in this spot. Sometimes it is worth it to do overkill, but nevertheless, this is how it ended up. And in general, RoadCraft is a game of choices. Sometimes you have to pick carefully. I should have been noticing that my tires were really digging in a little too much here. And this material that's all soaked mud, essentially, in rock, was really bad. A really bad material for a lot of vehicles. Here's a fun one of the AI being dumb. The AI has to clear this large pole system that's going over the top of the road, and then it has to clear this traffic light, and then it has to get around this rail car. Clearly what the game was trying to make me do was force that rail car to be moved. I would have to drive all the way over there just to move a single rail car, because the AI is not able to thread the needle. Now you will note that the first one got through, the second one got through, and the third one is fighting to get through themselves. This is a route that's not that important to me. It's literally towards the end of Sunken. I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and I am so tired of this map. And I'm just like, get through already, get through already. And this is like one of the last passes, and it made it. Again, the AI should not have had so much trouble trying to thread that needle. It should have been able to figure out what the blockage is. And the game designers knew it was a blockage. They purposely put that rail car in the way for some reason. I don't understand sometimes. But anyway, linking up production facilities is an important part of this game. Taking raw resources from recycling locations to finished locations is a big part of the game. But sometimes it's just silly. There's another objective: 10 more pipes, 10 more pipes, 10 steel pipes, 10 steel beams. All this steel, all these resources, they all cost something. It's just very frustrating sometimes trying to work through this game where it's like, shouldn't be this difficult. It shouldn't be this hard. You'll note this beautiful crane truck sometimes is really useful. So I immediately purchased this with resources in game because I saw the value of this, and having a rusty version was a silly waste of time. This thing has so much power, capability, and even just basically when you need it to handle something heavy. The game wanted me to go down there to go recover this thing. I said no. And I also said, oh yeah, I gotta put the outriggers out. But look at how this thing just effortlessly completes whole missions. It's worth bringing this. This is an example of an extra vehicle worth bringing if it's going to make your life easier and feel more satisfying to complete the mission with the right type of equipment. I highly recommend picking this up. I think it's like 60 or 70k worth of resources, but it's worth it. Well worth it. So I'm trying to plot out where exactly I can put this on the farthest length of this vehicle that will safely let me do. If you don't know anything about cranes, basically the further out the crane is, the more dangerous it is with the same weight. So if you raise the crane higher, if you have the crane further out, if you try to drop the crane below grade, so below where you're actually sitting, all those things are bad. So it's better to just plop the vehicle down, undo your outriggers, reset the crane, and then move over there, and then again move the vehicle one more time, kind of leapfrog it up the mountain. Note it's just tearing up that ground. Not my problem, but still. So this is some of the better footage I think about this game. Leapfrogging is one of the best ways to handle working with the larger crane trucks. So being able to put yourself in an advantageous position is only useful if you actually use the resource the right way. You don't want to flip this poor truck over or something like that. I haven't managed to do it myself yet, which is thankful. But it's mainly because I really take care of this thing. I don't treat it like my mules. So I put this thing into a different category. And you'll note that it is absolutely going to reward you 100% of the time. And this game tends to handle these full fixed vehicles rather than trailer with truck vehicles better when off-roading. And that may be a realistic thing or it may not be, but I mean, I've never seen a off-roading crane truck before of this size and caliber. Is just astounding, and it does it in spades. One interesting thing, there actually is an interior in both the driver's seat and in the crane truck seat. You can jump between for first-person view, which is kind of neat. So here's the final step. You'll note it was willing to move the Scout like it's nothing. And I am finally moving the vehicle all the way over. So the expensive VIP cargo was moved out of the pit that it was supposed to be hard to get to and challenging and a whole little puzzle to get to the side. Then it was moved up the hill, then it was moved down the hill next to the road, and then a different truck will come and get this vehicle and properly run it somewhere. That is how you handle this game. If you're going to use multiple vehicles, use them for the right reasons. See that beautiful little mountain base run right there? I can pick any truck I want. And you'll note that, as I talked to you before about, I have 2 Mule T1s. There's a very viable reason for that. And that is so I can have them staged in different directions and even have them preloaded with supplies as needed if you missed that in the earlier parts, if you're jumping around. This right here is actually an excellent cheat. It's not a cheat, but it's just a way to solve the puzzle. Instead of dragging those big old concrete pieces around and free floating on them and probably falling in the water once or twice, just grab the giant crane truck, bring it over. This is at the pink quarry sites where you need that final pieces to finish this mission, and just yank the thing out with a large crane truck. Put it next to the road, another vehicle can come get it, you're done. This is quite useful. Notice the first person view inside the crane truck, which is quite nice. This surprised me when I first did it. If you have the crane active, it will put you inside the crane truck, back, not the driver's seat, which is quite neat. There it is on the side of the road, and I will pick that up with a mule. And immediately, another base. I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm moving these mules around like crazy. The workhorses, the backbone of my whole base. This is a funny one. So one of the final steps of this mission is to get this delivery, which is only 1/3 of this huge tractor trailer flatbed type system, on an off-road path. And it's funny, it has the same exterior as the mule on the trailer part anyway, the carry-all section. And for whatever reason, I guess the game wanted to make it more challenging. It pulls out this ridiculous 18-wheeler to move just a couple boxes. Can I just put the boxes in the back of the mule? Of course I could have, but the game wouldn't let me. You know, that there would be more than enough space and weight rate capability to handle that. But no. So what I wanted to show you is that you don't always need like a bowhead or some heavy sand truck or something. You can pull out just a single 2-axle lighter vehicle that's like the mules, and use that to help give, if it's just a little bit of an oomph, the last little bit that they need to get really knocked forward. That's an important part of this game. And that will wrap up my coverage of Sunken. So, before you jump into your next map, consider carefully if you want to deal with water or not for a while. In my case, I didn't. And you're about to see right after this clip that there is a few options. There's 3 different options to choose from, and I would suggest keeping enough resources to be able to buy one more vehicle, because the maps unlock a lot of vehicles, and then a lot of those, the unique ones, you don't have to rebuy, you don't have to keep buying them, but the vehicles that you unlock that are like normal classes of vehicles, you get a rusty version, and then you have to buy the painted version that's faster. For those who didn't know, the rusty version tends to have 1 point less in acceleration, in overall speed, and capability of torque, like all sorts of different stuff. So this is what it looks like when the mission is completely done on Sunken. Yay. You go back to the hub. Yay. And finally are able to no longer have to see quarries for a while if you don't want to. So Incommunicado's done, Sunken's done, and obviously Aftermath and Precipice were already completed. So you got Dulge, Sojourn, and Sandswept. So if you look at each one of these, Deluge is basically water level in the local river has risen. A dam's about to fail, you got to save the day. But remember I just told you about the water situation? I'm really tired of water. So you hit escape, you go back, take out Sojourn. Sojourn, big gas extraction, big natural gas caverns in the region have explosively collapsed. Gotta save the day. I have no interest in going in water again lately. So you take a look at the final mission, Sandswept. Holy goodness, now we're talking. Huge solar plants in a region are rendered inoperable, regions threatening the region's power grid. You've been tasked with repairing the facilities and restoring the remaining solar plants to working condition. Now we're talking. I mean, it's got that big ugly Zikz truck, but at least you're talking. As I told you before, you start with a scout no matter what you want to do. And I'm a big fan of the Invictus. I did a coverage of it in the last video, but just so I'm not clickbaiting you, making you have to go watch another video. It's good. It's good. You do have to buy it in game. So even if you got it as a pre-order, DLC item, you have to buy it. I started with the Land Rover knockoff, and I wasn't very pleased with it because it was very tips happy, but it was quick and it was fun to drive around. If you're looking for that in a Scout, the Land Rover's fine. The Invictus to me is wider stance, slower, but it is still more Scout worthy. It's not going to tip over constantly, which is nice. So I've been pretty pleased with the Invictus. Yeah. heavily influenced by Humvee styling of it is what it is. You could pick far worse vehicles than the Invictus Type A to drive around in a disaster area. By the way, there is also like F350, F250s, that kind of stuff. There is search and rescue geared SUVs. There's all sorts of stuff later on. Don't go wasting all your money on scout vehicles, though. Just find one decent one, spend it, and that's it for a while. Because there's so many other things you got to buy. Heavy vehicles, better road construction vehicles that aren't aren't rusty. And then there's modernized vehicles further in the pack. So especially I'm waiting on... I don't understand. I haven't tested out co-op yet. But my understanding with co-op is that I can share my vehicles. If I can do that, then I definitely want to have some of the modern vehicles, because there's some folks I would play with. They get one look at the bunker or something like that, or one of these other crazy... like the asphalt dropper, or they look at these old ancient vehicles and they go, eh. But a modern vehicle set would excite them and interest them much more. So that's kind of, your mileage may vary, but depending on your friends, you may need that. Yeah. There's a lot here. So in general, on Sunken, you are fighting against the environment, you're fighting against these damn rocks that they put everywhere, and you're fighting against material that has been maybe not necessarily put in the right places. So when you scout out these areas, there is a lot of this going on. You get stuck on the rocks, you raw power through them, but you got to remember, if I have to come back through here with trucks, I'm going to need to clear all this. But the scout is doing what the scout does best. I'm trying to get to a repair shop to see what type of resources are there and what type of advantages I can get at that location. And I was not expecting what actually was there. I was not. A brand new kind of vehicle. So as I drive past the a crew cab F-150 or whatever, let's beat the hell. I go through this mud on the terrain scanner, and I finally get to this area here. And again, inside is a brand new vehicle of a different style than I'm used to. Note all the free stuff to recycle as well, which is nice. Those squared off metal pieces, by the way, are really annoying as well to move, unless you're using a crane truck. The Scout in general, like, well, it digs its heels in and it gives you a hard time trying to drag it to somewhere. So, asking for a new vehicle. Whenever this happens, you get to enjoy the new vehicle. And check out this brand new Scout. It's a tracked Scout. Yeah, you know I was talking so much about Scouts. So this is a rusty version, so if you like this thing, you would definitely immediately buy the full one that's painted and nice, that's faster. But in general, it's a really fun vehicle. And if you note, the air intakes are way up on the sides, those spinning fans. And the interior may not be nice. I'm sure the non-rusty version might have a little better interior, but it's a wild vehicle in general. Look at the wiper blades. How the wiper blades are just like literally like a piece of metal that it's exposed. There's no even sheet metal protecting it. There's no crazy dashboard. There's just some flicking switches that look like they come out of a Sputnik or something. In general, this thing is unique, very fun. Scout, for a Scout, it's probably one of the more interesting ones. And again, this is not something you can buy. It's an earnable in game. You just literally unlock it, and then you would buy the non-rusty one if you really want it. And this vehicle is actually pretty unique. On the muddy maps, they give it to you on a desert map, but on the pure mud maps with like tons and tons of water, a tracked Scout would actually be quite useful. I was just talking a little bit ago about how the bowhead with its tracks is so handy for me to get things done. and it doesn't get stuck where the wheeled things do, even the heavy wheeled vehicles, you know. So I suddenly go through this and I'm like, how am I going to get around this? The game has presented me with another problem. And Kelly's talking about how nice the river is, and I'm just saying, this thing looks like a death trap, this river. So I see all these rocks on the left, and I'm clearly like, okay, they want me to go over to the left, got it. As I said before, it's hard to gauge the depth of water in this game. You can't just send somebody out the window with a pole in front of you and tap it and see how deep it is. There's none of that. So you have to ad-lib this. And the game gives you the only tool available, which is just stuff in the water. So if you see like stuff growing in the water and rocks, that's usually where you belong. Now, how long you belong there, that's a question for a whole topic, you know, a whole discussion. But in general, if you can see where you're supposed to be, you should be okay. If you noted, it gave me a warning there, and it will give me, I think, additional warnings as I get across here on this white knuckle ride. But in general, you're going the right way if you can see the bottom. When you have stuff in the water, it's pretty easy to see what's going on. But again, a lot of times you only have partial, like part of the way. This is kind of handholdy the way they're doing this. And you can note it keeps showing that symbol. That's the air filter is going to fill with water if you stay in that position too long or you're right near it. You'll start seeing it fill up, like literally animated fill up. But what a vehicle. So again, a track scout you get in this setup. You unlock it here. And you can use it on any map after that, by the way. And this is the final location that you're actually trying to fix up. After you deliver that vehicle, they want you to move everything around. They want you to get around different places. Thought this was kind of cool. It's like a water or a chemical tower or something for like gravity feeds. For once, the game allows you to use the slope to your advantage and roll it down there, and then there's a pole down there, so if it did roll too far, it would just hit the pole and just sit on the pole. For once. And it presents an interesting concept of, you know, what exactly is clearing an area, right? Am I just moving everything off this road? Or do I have to clear it where every single thing has to be out of the way? That's probably just me more so saying I don't feel like dealing with these large circular broken poles that I have to throw into recycling somewhere right now that are bigger than my truck. And I'll probably need the big crane truck for this part. But this is where I'm going to conclude it. I'll tell you, Windsept is one of the more fun maps. It looks like I'm just kind of going through the paces. I don't have much more footage on it yet. This may surprise you, but I don't film every single second, despite how long this video was. Thank you for sticking around. If you're interested in anything to do with RoadCraft, or you have questions about it, or if you have feedback on this video in general, don't hesitate. I tried to make it as live and living as possible to make it feel like we're playing it together, and also give you an impression of if this game is for you, or maybe if you're already playing it, give you some tips on what would be fun for gameplay. Thank you for being here.